you're wondering how to get a grip on the most important global developments, The Economist has a new subscription. The Espresso app, yes, like the coffee, is the faster and smarter way to get the news. As always, The Economist likes to get to the point. Espresso offers short articles to help you understand the day's top stories. It includes other ways to stay ahead as well, whether that's listening to audio versions of articles for when you're on the go, my personal favourite, or enjoying extras such as charts, quotes, and even a daily quiz. This is a concentrated briefing to tell you, quickly, what you need to know. Head to economist.com/getespresso to find out more today.
Did you know that out of the 200 million creators on Instagram, 80 million are from India? Hustle culture काफी hard है हमारे यहाँ. सोच में पड़ गए? बेहतरीन. Because that's kind of the point. That is the point of this new podcast. We want to make you think. Think about the world, think about your body, and think about science. And today we have with us a very special guest. Today we have with us Nikhil Taneja. Nikhil is the co-founder of Yuvaa, a youth-led media company that aims to highlight issues that the youth is currently facing. They talk all about relationships, sexuality, mental health, and all of the things that might concern you. Now, I'm a big fan of Nikhil's work. Nikhil has been doing some amazing things and leading some very cool conversations about mental health. But अभी आप सोच रहे होंगे कि मैंने फैक्ट तो इंटरनेट के बारे में बताया और अब मैं मेंटल हेल्थ की बात कर रही हूँ. That's because today we are talking about how to have healthy mental health while being an internet user. Hustle culture tells us very interesting things about what we should do with our lives. But ये कभी कोई बात नहीं करता है कि इस hustle culture और online presence का हमारे दिमाग पे क्या impact पड़ता है and how it affects our life. Thank you for being here, Nikhil.
Thanks for having me, Taneja. As I'm a huge fan.
Right back at you.
I keep talking to everyone in Team Yuvaa and telling them, the kind of person that we should all aspire to be like is Taneja. She's the kind of creator that we all need. She's found that perfect mix of being important and interesting.
Thank you
very much. I am a big fan myself.
Right back at you. My imposter syndrome is kicking in, so I will quickly change the topic before it makes me extremely uncomfortable. But speaking of imposter syndrome,
yes.
What is imposter syndrome? Let's start there.
Love how you've thought that I'm the right person to talk about it. So imposter syndrome in general is supposed to be where no matter how much you achieve, you still feel like you've not done enough. You have not been enough. You are not enough in many ways. There's this really famous, I think, paragraph that's gone viral somewhere on the internet where Neil Gaiman spoke about how he had gone to a party and how he had spoken to some other guests and saying that I was feeling so out of place at this party and everyone over there was like really famous, more famous than me. And I was just so confused about like, how do I find my people here? How do I find my community here? What am I? Who am I? And then someone came up to me and literally said the same thing to me, that I am feeling out of place at this party and I am feeling like this. And it turned out to be Neil Armstrong. And I'm like, if he feels out of place, then who am I to feel out of place? And somewhere
out of place feel करने में भी imposter हो रहा है.
मतलब कि now it's interesting you ask me because I have mostly heard a lot of women speaking about this. Men speaking about it is not very, because men have a certain amount of alpha confidence that comes from the fact that मैं तो सही हूँ.
पैदाइशी.
हाँ, मैं तो पैदाइशी cool हूँ. I have a lot more feminine traits in me and a lot more, I'm far more in touch with the feminine side. So I feel like this a lot more than I feel a lot of other men that I know and I speak with. And I feel it comes somewhere from the fact that my father's pretty much spent his entire life being outside just working. My mother's stayed at home, has been working, trying to raise us. When you grow up just looking at in India, our parents just trying to break out of their circumstance कि एक लेवल से ना दूसरे लेवल को अनलॉक करना है कहीं ना कहीं कि अभी हम लोग अगर इतना सा घर है अभी थोड़ा सा बड़ा घर चाहिए इतनी अगर एक पहले बाइक आती है पहले स्कूटर आता है फिर शायद बाइक आती है फिर छोटी गाड़ी आती है फिर शायद बड़ी गाड़ी आ जाती है पहले जो है रेंटेड अपार्टमेंट होता है फिर शायद छोटा सा घर आएगा फिर शायद अगर पैसे और आगे तो एक और घर खरीद लिया यू सीइंग योर पेरेंट्स गो थ्रू दीज लेवल्स वन एट अ टाइम एंड आई फील लाइक you're in your mind only you think that is life is only about trying to find what next level up, right? What next? And even if you're doing it, there's always this question in your mind that okay, ये तो हो गया, चलो बड़ी अच्छी बात है, but what next now? तो मेरा हमेशा से यही रहा है, and I've now been grappling over the last few years because I feel like I've hit a lot of goals that I had as a kid, which is, I should be very proud of that, but I still don't feel like happy always. I don't feel like I've made it, quote unquote. I don't feel like I have enough. There's just so much, I think, within us that I think is, we just as human beings, I just always feel like there's a void, there's always something lacking. And I think it comes from this understanding, at least in an Indian societal subculture conversation, when you see your parents never having really had a moment in their lives where they have taken a breath. So I feel, of course, there are these Instagram understanding of what imposter syndrome is, comparison, validation, quotes, retweets and likes and shares and whatnot. But I feel like so much of it comes from us just being an Indian people and seeing our parents hustle more than I think, most other parents anywhere else have.
This is hitting home really hard for me because even my parents are like this. My mom came from like a little village. वहाँ school नहीं था. पूरा 20 किलोमीटर पैदल चल के दूसरे स्कूल में जाती थी. Eventually, my nana got fed up and उन्होंने ऐसे छोटा सा एक स्कूल बना दिया वहाँ पे. So that mummy doesn't have to go all मतलब extreme privilege, sure. 14 years की age पे she went to some महिला विद्यालय लखनऊ में. वहाँ उनकी क्या जबरदस्त रैगिंग हुई. इस सब के बावजूद like रैगिंग क्या होती थी, बाथरूम नहीं जाने देंगे. They'll just make you wait for hours and hours. So इस सब के बावजूद she became a doctor. She came from like this little village, established all of this in Allahabad, opened her own hospital. My dad, my mom doing all of this together. And it's so true that in our culture, we don't have the culture of rest.
Yeah.
The culture of overworking is super glorified. The culture of hustling, oh God, what is that word even? Is so glorified. And I was having a chat with my ex-manager yesterday. And she was about to join some agency. और वहाँ पे उसको बोला that, are you ready to hustle?
Yeah.
This is a new company. You won't get weekends off. You're supposed to be on call until 11 p.m. And I was like, on call is a word we use in medicine. When you're the primary care doctor. Like, there I understand that you need to be on your toes until 12 in the morning because people's lives are involved.
Yeah.
अगर एक ad 3 दिन लेट पहुंच गया तो क्या हो जाएगा बता दो.
ये इतना खराब सिस्टम बनाया ना हम लोगों ने. We genuinely start looking at work as life and death when it isn't. We are not changing the world, especially I feel like in corporate structures. No matter what you think you're doing, unless you're making vaccines or something, you're really not changing the world. What is, I don't understand. I don't know what is there. I've seen people feeling proud of the fact that I've stayed late. I used to be that person, by the way. And now when I look at others, I just feel like I feel bad for them. I try to break it out of them, but I just, मतलब क्या उखाड़ लिया तुमने तब इतना रहकर. I read this thing yesterday somewhere where yesterday, in fact, so many things I've done yesterday only. But कल मैंने कुछ पढ़ा जहाँ लिखा हुआ था कि the only people who are going to up 20 years later, the only people who will remember that you worked late are your children. That nobody else is going to remember. It's your partner, it's your family, it's your children who did not get your time who will remember. Your boss is not 20 years later be like, अरे वो कितना अच्छा था, रात को 10 बजे तक बैठकर ऑफिस में काम करती थी. I feel like we need to recognize that there is a capitalist structure that we are all born into, unfortunately, which needs us to hustle so that it can reflect back to us that
you're still worthless.
Yeah. Well, of course, that's what it actually. But the idea is that if you hustle more, again, unlock more in your life, you're going to get more money, you're going to get a better designation, you're going to get a better CTC, a better. All our entire lives are reduced down to these stupid numericals, and we feel proud or we feel bad about ourselves only when we look at numbers.
That's such a beautiful way of like, these are the numbers that matter, that you go out and meet more and more people, you learn from more and more people instead of chasing some stupid numbers. I feel like this number conversation is so important, especially because probably the people going to be watching this on social media maybe chasing a number, I have chased a number for so long. All of us, everybody who's in this industry knows what those numbers mean and what the implications of it are and what it does to you when you're not hitting a number at a certain point of time. And I feel like there's so many young people that watch this kind of stuff and watch us celebrate our 500k or our 1 million or our 20k, that it becomes an aspiration. It's so bizarre the way social media, like I grew up when internet was there, but social media wasn't there. So like I knew the concept of the internet, like when I was 5 or 6 when I was maybe 10, I got internet access. So to see how these aspirations and these ideas might be playing for people who are born in this, where it's a goal in life to have a successful business, have a family, do really well in college, go to a really good college, look great all the time, be super fit, make very aesthetic food, have all the coolest hangouts, have all the coolest parties, wear the nicest shoes, and also have 20,000 followers. That's like the bare minimum these days. No, itna to karke nikalna hi hai. And I'm so worried about the young people that are coming up. हमारे time पे ऐसा pressure नहीं था. हमारे time पे सिर्फ ये pressure था, बेटा fail मत होना. And it must be so different and so difficult to grow up in this kind of, this pressure, this constant pressure, this not good enough feeling every single place. And you speak to a lot of young people. Yeah. Is this a prevalent thought?
Yeah, it's everywhere. It is so unfortunate, and so much of the work that we do at Yuvaa is to try and talk about mental health from this perspective, to normalize, so to speak, averageness. Okay, even when you're growing up, think about it. We're always like, तुम्हें succeed करना है, ये करना है, वो करना है. सारे parents, सारे teachers, सारे आसपास peers सभी बात कर रहे हैं. First आना, second आना, third आना, ये आना, वो आना, वो आना. सब बातें होती हैं. Your role models you are shown as, look at the most successful, but these are the fewest. There's always, in a class of 50, there'll only be 3 people who are 1 to 3, right? The rest of them are going to, so to speak, not be as successful as the toppers. In any college, in any setup, in life outside also. आपके CEO company का founder, whatever, if you're looking at a designation and saying, okay, this person, there's always one person over there. The rest of them are not there. And not everybody is ever going to get there. And I think that there has to be a bigger conversation about not failure, but this expectation management of life. कि यार, failure is far more common everywhere. It'll happen to, success happens to a few, failure happens to every single person. We need to be able to have these conversations about what it is to not be at the top of everything. And just so you know, you would know it, I can say in some way that I have in many ways, मेरे fields के अंदर मैंने कहीं अपनी जगहों पे top किया है. But after that, it's not like it's made me immensely happy. And आप देख लो, मैं कौन सा successful बंदा तुम देखो जो ना, जो successful होकर ना बोलता चल मैं अब chill मारूंगा लाइफ के अंदर, मुझे कुछ नहीं करना. Look at Elon Musk, man. After he's destroyed, I'm saying he's destroyed his reputation because he couldn't just live with being one of the most successful billionaires in the world.
That's
and
true.
I want more. And then he's now what everyone makes. He's a joke right now. And this is what unfortunately is happening with. Again, read this beautiful line that said that it's such a tragedy. I think it was from one of my favorite books, John Green's The Anthropocene Reviewed, where he says, one of the chapters, he says that it's such a tragedy that the only thing that some people can do with money is to make more of it. And it is. And this is the same thing. How is that going to change who you are as a person? How is that going to change the family and friends you have around you, your support system, what you do, what you get up for in the morning, what is your purpose, what is your reason for being? Who gives you love? Who do you give love to? ये सारी चीजें शायद तुम्हारी essentially change नहीं होने वाली. And वो हम लोग ना भूल जाते हैं इसके अंदर. In fact, we stop giving time and attention to the things that matter in the race to get a bigger number. If you spend similar amount of time in doing a certain kind of deep work in a field that you're passionate about, in the kind of work that you love doing. And I'm right now assuming that there are two worlds for people, that there is some other work that they love and then there is the internet content creation work, which a lot of young people today don't have. But I'm just saying from my perspective, I realize अगर मैं उतना ही time ना spend करूँ कुछ deep work करने में, हो सकता है it might actually get me far more lasting legacy. It might get me far more recognition for the work I do, and it eventually might make me more money also. The moment I took a step away from Twitter, Instagram, I'm working on a film and a TV show that has been picked up by OTT platform because I spent that kind of time in writing and working on my scripts and my writing, which is something that I'm extremely passionate about. If it works, it is probably going to be far more lasting in memory for people than an Instagram post that I put up. You know, and I'm not saying this in any way to say that, you know, आप जो internet पे content डाल रहे हो उसकी value नहीं है. Value है. No, but you have to decide that line for yourself. Just because everybody is putting something every day doesn't mean you have to put everything every day.
But the platform punishes you if you don't.
But वही ना, मैं वही कह रहा हूँ, या तो तुम platform के बारे में सोच सकते हो या फिर again deep work, which I feel like, look, a lot of the comedians do this. Again, when you look at Varun Grover as an example, or for that matter Biswa or Abhishek Upmanyu, who's just, again, he puts up one comic piece in 3 weeks, and anytime he puts it up, it's lapped up. Why? Because the effort that he's put up in putting that one piece is so much more than the effort that everybody is putting in every single day to put out a single piece of content just to make sure that आपका algorithm. और ये ना मैंने कहीं पढ़ा भी और कहीं सुना भी है, पता नहीं मुझे लगता है इंस्टाग्राम वाले ने बोला था कि ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता, ये this is just a maybe there is a thing, maybe there is, I'm not again denying it, I don't know any better, but from what I understand, even if you do the same amount of work every single day, and even if you do it like once in 3 weeks, if the quality of your work is the same, it is going to get the same kind of reach. And I also see that, like, even if I'm not writing for 3 weeks and then I put up a post, it gets me the same kind of engagement that it used to earlier. Overall engagement is down in the last year anyway. वो कुछ नहीं कर सकते, for everybody. But within that, if I write something from my heart, it does just as much as it used to do. And I feel like we need to start recognizing that यार. After a point of time, इतने क्रिएटर्स हो गए हैं इस कंट्री के अंदर, इतने लोग अपने आप को क्रिएटर बोलते हैं. इट्स अ क्वेश्चन यू नीड टू आस्क योरसेल्फ, व्हाट आर यू एक्चुअली क्रिएटिंग? द आइडिया ऑफ क्रिएशन इज, it should involve even any, as somebody who works in filmmaking, as someone who works in art, the idea of creation necessarily is something that requires your time, your attention, a little bit of pain, a little bit of effort, sleepless nights sometimes, something that is so deep inside of you that if it doesn't come out, you can't breathe. Like I feel like that's what creation essentially is ना. जब आप कुछ ओरिजिनल अपना जिंदगी में बाहर डाल रहे हो, आपके अंदर कुछ है, आपको जो बताना है दुनिया को, that is true creation. Again, not to belittle anybody who creates something constantly. I'm a fan of people who are able to think something impulsive and put it out. But how long are you going to be doing that for? You are going to burn out.
Absolutely.
It cannot last. Versus protect your energy. Protect your pieces, protect your art, work on it, put out that one thing that you're proud of and put it out in the timeline that works for you. And 100%, if you have the heart and if you have the talent, there is no chance that it will not work.
Yeah.
But you need to now decide those, because the world is otherwise going to decide for you. And what is that going to do? Ultimately, remember, eventually लोगों को ये याद नहीं रहेगा तुमने कितना कंटेंट बनाया था, तुमने कितना काम किया था. सिर्फ तुमको याद रहेगा कि मैं ना 1 साल तक ना अपने I couldn't give that time to my loved ones. I couldn't give that time to myself. I did not sleep enough, and because of that I have this illness, that illness, or whatever right now, which I think is happening to a lot of people.
If you're wondering how to get a grip on the most important global developments, The Economist has a new subscription. The Espresso app, yes, like the coffee, is the faster and smarter way to get the news. As always, The Economist likes to get to the point. Espresso offers short articles to help you understand the day's top stories. It includes other ways to stay ahead as well, whether that's listening to audio versions of articles for when you're on the go, my personal favorite, or enjoying extras such as charts, quotes, and even a daily quiz. This is a concentrated briefing to tell you quickly what you need to know. Head to economist.com/getespresso to find out more today.
It's happening to so many people, and I feel like I understood this most when I came out with my book. I was that person that used to put out a video every single day, and that got me immense growth. Other people tell me that this is immense growth. मेरा तो कोई benchmark है ही नहीं, मैं तो नई creator हूँ, मेरे को बनाया शुरू चल गया. And when I started doing my book, I obviously wasn't able to put out content with the same frequency.
Yeah.
It used to mess with my head so much. Like, I used to just get so, oh my God, this book has taken over my life. I love that book to bits. I went through the worst time in my life writing that book. But, no, not for book writing reasons, for other reasons. But I was very confused by the fact and very concerned by how I'm not able to also create content while I'm doing this. And when the book came out, I was just like, promotion ke liye wo karna. And my team is just like, क्या कर रही हो? This is a book for a lifetime. You've written a book, it's going to be there for a lifetime. For me, I was thinking 24 घंटे में अगर ये बुक सबसे ज्यादा बिकी नहीं तो एल्गो पुश नहीं करेगा ऐसे, और मेरी बुक ऐसे आगे, मतलब it warps the way you process art.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, any content, any good, meaningful content is art. Even though I'm doing educational content, it's still some form of art in some way. The fact that I cannot see the value in the fact that sometimes, most of the times I can, but sometimes I just sit there thinking कि हो इतना अच्छा वीडियो है, इस पे 1 million views क्यों नहीं आए? इंस्टेड ऑफ थिंकिंग कि मैंने ये किताब लिख ली, किताब आ गई, किताब को 6 महीने हो गए, किताब 35 दिन में sold a huge number of copies, became a bestseller, none of that. The way the internet or the social media circus essentially changes your relationships with yourself, with other people, with other creators, I find it very interesting, particularly for young people. One of the primary things that I've learned in this is that, as you mentioned, हम लोगों के लिए offline life and online life अलग अलग है.
Correct.
Because we grew up in that era where we had a separation.
Correct.
These guys don't have it.
Correct.
So the way they see their relationships is so different. There is no concept of a virtual relationship or an actual relationship. It's all the same thing.
Yeah.
And how they process it and how the boundaries of what is okay and what is not okay blur are so interesting. And I feel like that may be also leading to a lot of loneliness in some way.
Yeah.
I feel like you would have a lot more insights on this.
I feel like there's so much that contributes to this, right? Like right now, कहीं ना कहीं जो हमारी conversation चल रही है, it is a bit of a privileged conversation in the sense कि we are obviously older than most of the creators right now. We already have a weekday work job that we are also active in, and uske over and above we are doing content, or we might be like writing something, creating something, making something, etc. I don't even think of myself as a content creator in that sense, but I feel like the people who are older, we have got both the advantage and I feel the good fortune of seeing a world before the internet, then seeing the world as the internet has been shaping up and taking place, and to what it is right now. So we have the historical perspective of stepping a little bit outside of what's happening right now and then forming an opinion of it. कि ना हम लोग थोड़ा सा दूर रह के ये बोल सकते हैं, हाँ पहले दुनिया ऐसी थी, अब दुनिया ऐसी है, और अब मुझे लग रहा है कि जो ना मुझे ना ये करना चाहिए instead of doing this. That is a privilege that I have right now as somebody who has something else to do. Yeah. A lot of young people today are thinking that यही एक medium है, जहाँ पर अपना कुछ express भी करते हैं, बहुत प्यार से, बहुत तमीज से, बहुत अच्छा expression भी होता है लोगों का. For what it's worth, social media has democratized expression. Absolutely. Which never happened before. So there is someone from a small town who will not have the privilege of finding a job as easily as I did. I see marginalized communities who are using the internet today to finally have this say that they never got. So कहीं ना कहीं एक तो पहले हमको ये रिकॉग्नाइज करना पड़ेगा कि बहुत लोग हैं जो प्रिविलेज नहीं होती, वो इंटरनेट को बहुत दे आर यूजिंग इट एंड दे नीड टू यूज इट, दे डोंट हैव एन ऑप्शन. व्हाटएवर वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट टुडे, कुछ लोगों के ऑप्शन ही नहीं है ये रेस्ट की. उनको पता है कि यार हमारी वॉइसेस ना सालों से सुनी नहीं गई हैं, अब मुझे फाइनली बोलने का मौका मिल रहा है तो मैं बोलूंगा या बोलूंगी, एंड दे आर फाइनली एक्सप्रेसिंग देमसेल्व्स. Then there is a whole bunch of other people who are doing it only because everybody else around them is doing it. Yeah. Only because it seems to be an easy thing to do. And I feel like that's where we need to be a little bit more cautious. And I don't think this conversation is happening enough. Like education system में कौन बता रहा है? Is there anybody now in school or colleges, even though content creation is a legit job opportunity, कौन बैठकर बात कर रहा है कि यार content creation के अंदर ना आपको ना these are the things you should be wary of, these are the things you should do right, this is what you do wrong. There's no course somewhere. There's no, even if there is a course, it will always tell you how to hack the algorithm. How to become more popular. Correctly. No course is telling you कि ठीक है आपने हैक किया एल्गोरिदम, कितने साल हैक कर लोगे, कल को एल्गोरिथम चेंज होगा फिर तुम क्या करोगे? What has happened with Facebook? One of the world's biggest media publications on Facebook. VTFeed was run by these two brothers, Vinay Singhal, Parveen Singhal, out of Indore. It became so popular, it became one of the top 10 Facebook pages in the world at one point of time. The Facebook changed its algorithm one day. The company had to shut down. And this was one of the world's top 10 pages, one of India's most successful startup stories in India. Wow. It had to shut down because their entire business model was Facebook and they couldn't do anything. Wow. आज आप देखो जितने भी, there are so many creators who are the OG creators. Yeah. There are people like a Prajakta and a Bhuvan and so many others who've been able to find different things to do to complement the work that they're doing. Prajakta is not only a YouTuber today. Actor भी है, तभी वो ना और उसको समझ आ गया कि मुझे एक्टिंग करनी है. भुवन ने भी एक्टिंग शुरू कर दी वगैरह वगैरह. पर ऐसे बहुत सारे क्रिएटर्स हम जो देखोगे जिन्होंने जो है ना जो ओजी आपके यूट्यूबर्स थे या इंस्टाग्रामर्स थे वगैरह वगैरह, बट दे हैव नॉट बीन सक्सेसफुली एबल टू चेंज देयर फील्ड. एंड इफ यू लुक एट देयर ट्रैक्शन टुडे और दे लुक एट देयर डिमांड टुडे, इट्स बिकम अ फ्रैक्शन ऑफ व्हाट इट यूज्ड टू बी. व्हाट आर दीस पीपल गोइंग टू डू इन द नेक्स्ट 10 years? They didn't have, the only thing they did on the internet was this. अब जो ना एल्गोरिथम चेंज हो गया है, नए लोग आ गए हैं, बहुत सारे लोग हो गए हैं, डिस्कवरेबिलिटी मुश्किल हो गई है, क्या करने वाले हैं अभी वो, उनको भी नहीं पता और किसी को भी नहीं पता. And they still had good 10 years because they were the first people to start.
Absolutely.
You are starting at a time when everybody is on the internet.
Yep.
Even if you have one viral video, even if you have 10 viral videos, even if you make 100,000, even if you get 100,000, you get 1 million. There is nothing to say that कल को अगर Instagram ने अपना algorithm change कर दिया, you'll still be relevant. And if that happens, what are you going to do? What is your plan B?
And so many young people write to me, especially after doing MBBS, and they say कि मैम MBBS कर लिया है, अब मैं content creation में घुस जाऊँ. I'm just like, MBBS क्यों किया? मतलब इतनी पढ़ाई करके, and I'm not looking down on content creation. I'm a creator myself.
Yeah.
But there is no stability in this. ये मजे के लिए बहुत बढ़िया है. अभी अच्छा लग रहा है कि हाँ मतलब मस्त पॉडकास्ट रिकॉर्ड कर रहे हैं कमरे में बैठ के.
लोगों को लगता है ये आसान है. Number one, everyone thinks it's very easy. It's not. It's extremely difficult. That you will realize once you start doing it.
Yeah.
लोगों को ये लगता है कि अगर हमको एक वायरल वीडियो मिल गया ना तो दूसरा मिलना और मतलब आसान हो जाता है. No, even if you get one viral video, the second one is going to take just as much effort. Even if you get 10 viral video, the 11th will take just as much effort, and you will never be able to get that consistency. And then what happens? It will start playing with your head. It will start playing with your mind. You will start realizing यार मुझे 10 में 1 मिलियन मिला, अभी 11वें पे 800 क्यों हो रहा है, फिर 500 क्यों हो रहा है?
Every day this is a conversation in my group chat.
And that becomes attached to your self-worth.
Priyanshu and I keep talking about this. हमारा YouTube पे ऐसे, इस पे तो 500-500 के व्यूज हैं, इस पे 400 व्यू क्यों है 400 व्यू? 400 लोगों को अगर मेंस्ट्रुअल कप लगाना आ गया है, उससे तो कोई गलत बात है क्या?
बात वही है.
बेचारी रिपोर्ट बना रही है क्यों आ रहे हैं कम व्यूज.
See, अगर आप again, if you're doing it as a business and you're trying to understand, sure, please, again, I'm not at all putting down this idea, but I'm just saying that it ultimately becomes attached to a self-worth.
Absolutely.
We start thinking कि just because हमको एक वीडियो पे 1 मिलियन मिल गया तो दूसरे पे अगर हमको 5,000, that just means that I am not good enough right now.
Yeah.
And the highs on Instagram and all of these social media platforms are so high and the lows then are so low. Yeah. And now you need as a creator today to have that understanding. मुझे क्या लगता है ना, I think at this point of time, every creator who's either getting into creation or is already creating needs to have an understanding of why they're doing it. That understanding needs to be very clear. मैं क्यों कर रहा हूँ या कर रही हूँ इस समय? Why? What is the reason? If you're doing this because you enjoy it, please feel free to do it, but then don't attach numbers to the outcome. Yeah. You're doing it because you enjoy it. Great. If it works out, great. You're getting some additional money through this, great. Nothing like it. And then if you have something else that you're doing, which is your constant, great, you focus. If you feel like this is your job right now, first get to a place where you are getting a certain amount of money from it before you consider this your job.
Absolutely.
Don't just think that this is going to be a job. मैं कर लूँगा या कर लूँगी. इतने आसान नहीं होता. Give it time, give it energy, give it effort. But once you are able to create some livelihood out of it, then see what are the ways. And even then keep in mind that any point of time, it's not your self-worth, it is the algorithm. Yeah. Any point of time, it's not about you, it is about the algorithm. Of course, your efforts also matter, but tomorrow, anything can happen and you can go back to square zero.
Absolutely.
So you need to now be very aware of why you're doing it, how it affects your moods, how it affects your mood patterns, how it affects your mental health, how it affects your highs, how it affects your lows. You need to do this. I feel you have to do this as something that is a fun, enjoyable pursuit on the internet, which is why it all also started.
Yeah.
Versus thinking of it as a job and an outcome. And now AI will come and we'll be screwed.
It's another can of worms. It's really funny. It's very ironic I'm saying this, but I hope people listen to this on their phones and decide to take a break. And honestly, go back and connect with themselves and take time to have a relationship with themselves, as you said, and take time to just be present in the moment and instead of on the internet all the time. I truly hope, because the kind of pressure messaging we all get about optimizing and efficiency and hustling and productivity, I hope the people who are listening to this on their phones are able to take this message and are able to find some peace and some connect in their lives. Thank you so much. This has been such a wonderful and insightful conversation. Honestly, I really enjoyed myself. So thank you so much for sharing your insights.
Thanks for having me, Taneja.
And hopefully we can create a nicer, safer internet and a nicer, safer world.
And you are doing it, Taneja. Like
Thank
the kind
you.
of conversations
As
the
are you. I'm
conversations
such
you are
a huge
having,
fan of you.
all the conversations you're having on your channel, everything that I see, you're creating these wonderful spaces online, and so many young people I know have benefited from it, and I know that there's going to be so many more. So thank you for the work you're doing, and I hope like there are more adults like you who actually take time out to spend doing something for the better of the people online, especially young people.
Woohoo! Thank you for the work you do.
Without
honestly.
getting burnt out.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Taneja.
If you're wondering how to get a grip on the most important global developments, The Economist has a new subscription. The Espresso app, yes, like the coffee, is the faster and smarter way to get the news. As always, The Economist likes to get to the point. Espresso offers short articles to help you understand the day's top stories. It includes other ways to stay ahead as well, whether that's listening to audio versions of articles for when you're on the go, my personal favorite, or enjoying extras such as charts, quotes, and even a daily quiz. This is a concentrated briefing to tell you, quickly, what you need to know. Head to economist.com/getespresso to find out more today.